beings. I am coming at you from my beautiful property here. I'll give you a little spin. These are the woods. That's the little guest house. This is kind of like our middle yard. Back there's the pond and the garden and some sheds. Oh my goodness, it's been a challenging morning, to say the least. I was totally fine. Yesterday, at the end of the day, I had this killer migraine. I've been really struggling with migraines. When I was a kid, I would have them all the time. And recently it's been really good. And then honestly, in the past month, it's been almost just nonstop. Actually, 2021 has been non-stop migraines. Wonder what that noise is. Oh, it might be a smoke alarm. Anyway, and so it was so interesting. I woke up this morning, I was feeling really good. I read through all of your questions. I felt very pumped up about it. And then, yeah? Fire alarm. Yeah, so weird. I don't know. Is there a fire? Okay, yeah, I heard that. Yeah. It's so new here. Like everything's new. Um, but yeah, and then I was totally fine. The migraine was gone, and Nat and I had a meeting, a business meeting about the new membership program, which I'm really excited about. But it was so interesting throughout that meeting, trying to think about business. I started feeling anxious, nauseous, and the migraine came back tenfold. And so when I tapped into the reason why this migraine is coming back, the exhaustion, the anxiety, here's what it is. Here's what came through for me, all right? We're flipping in between two very extreme energies right now. It is the definition of basically quantum leaping. When we go from a third dimension density into a fifth dimension density, it's a huge leap. So it's going to create anxiety, it's going to create nausea. Sometimes it creates extreme hunger. I've been waking up with hunger pains. I'm never ever really hungry, and I've been waking up with hunger pains, and then the migraine as well. And what came through with the migraine is like almost like trying to balance the two different hemispheres of your brain and them kind of competing and clashing, and that causing a migraine, right? This disharmony. So this is what we're doing. Like, I know for me, being on the land and just being free and being connected to nature is 5D. It doesn't exist in space and time. Then all of a sudden when I have a business meeting, or I have to think about paying taxes, or I have to, basically bring myself back down, it creates this huge leap of like, now I need to be human. And that's been really affecting me. And I really just was able to pinpoint it like 20 minutes ago. I started doing some uploading techniques, very similar to the VAX course that I'm going to be releasing. And that helped. And honestly, just hopping on here with you guys is helping. Like the headache, like I'm telling you, it was so bad 10 minutes ago that I was like, I don't know if I can do this video. Also, I had a dream. Dreams have been crazy recently. I had a dream last night because I went to bed with this migraine, and I've been drinking water. Like I've been hydrating myself. And my dream last night was I went to the doctor and I got an MRI scan or whatever, CAT scan or something, scan for the head. And the doctor said, "Oh my goodness, your pineal gland or pineal gland is twice the size of like normal people, and that's exactly where that headache is. It's like right in the center of the back of my skull. It's very bizarre." And maybe that is just the pineal gland growing, which is interesting because I haven't really done much spiritual work here. I've been doing a lot of human work. And this is what we're being told and taught and pushed to do right now, is to really clear the old energies. Now, in order to clear the old energies, it means you got to bring yourself back into your body. You have to ground yourself. You have to focus on the emotion. You have to feel the pain. And that's what we're all doing right now. So it's a shift. We're going through a shift. So I just want to let you know, if you're anxious, if you're exhausted, if you're nauseous, if you're freaking hungry, and if you've been struggling with pains in the body and headaches, be really easy on yourself. Drink extra water, sleep, extra if you need to. Just listen to yourself, because you're going through a shift. If you're dreaming about childhood things, if old traumas are coming back, focus on them. Ask your inner child what you can do to help yourself. Okay, so we're all in it. You're not alone in this, and you're not dying. All right, you're just waking up. Oh my goodness. Okay, so before we go into all of these amazing questions, like, I'm so excited for these questions, I want to give you a little story. This is a story of something that happened yesterday in the woods. So I hopped on an Instagram live video yesterday, and if you want updates about my farm life, then I highly recommend check out Instagram. So I went yesterday. My intention was, I want to sit in the woods. I want to connect to nature. I want to connect to the elemental beings. I want to connect to the fairies that are on this land. Like, I know that this is a hotbed of activity. So I go into the woods yesterday, and I sit down and I quiet my mind, quiet my mind, and nothing. It was just empty. It was blank. And I'm like, really? There's no elementals here. There's nothing going on. There's no spirits. There's no indigenous. Like, you know what I mean? It was just nothing. And then all of a sudden, a mosquito comes around. It's the middle of the day. And I'm like, I'm trying to not react to the mosquito, right? I'm like, just be centered, just calm your mind, just don't react. So of course that only lasted for about 2.2, and I don't kill bugs, even mosquitoes, but I swatted away, right? I'm like, get away. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to connect. And in that moment, I heard this kind of, like, I don't want to say like a giggling, but like I felt that I was being watched, right? So this mosquito comes around, I swat it away. I'm like mad at myself for reacting to the damn mosquito, trying to meditate in the woods, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm being watched. So I tune into that energy and I'm like, hello, who's around? And like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And I felt, I want to say about 2 or 3 fairies, but they didn't let me see them. I could only sense them, okay? It was like more of like a clairsentience than a clairvoyance. And so obviously they were hiding themselves from me for a reason. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're testing me. This is the download that I got. These fairies are testing me. And it almost felt like they had resentment, or they had a chip on their shoulder about humans. So they didn't trust me. And I'm not used to being tested. Like, I'm used to astral traveling. I'm used to going to different planets. I'm used to connecting with spirits, indigenous, what have you. And I'm used to having this, like, oh my goodness, you can see us, like, let's have a conversation, rather than being tested. So these fairies were testing me in the woods. The only other time I've ever really fully communed with fairies was in the redwoods last November. When I was a kid, I used to literally see fairies everywhere and tell my dad about them all the time. But in my adulthood, elementals hasn't really been my thing. So anyway, these fairies are testing me, and here's what they were testing me for. They literally asked this mosquito to come around and bug me to see how in harmony I was with nature. Do I react to nature, or am I a part of nature, right? So I failed the test. I literally failed their test, and I'm kicking myself and feeling guilty that I reacted to this damn mosquito. And then I'm like, okay. First of all, they're here, okay? Which is like, that was great for me to have the validation that this isn't just an empty forest. There's definitely an elemental presence, but they don't really trust humans. So I went back into meditation. I closed my eyes, quieted my mind, and now I'm like intending for harmony with nature. And I get this little tickle on my lower back, right? And so I'm like, just breathe, just be in harmony. And And so then my mind, my ego mind, my human mind is like reacting like, oh my God, what if it's a giant mosquito? And then I just start thinking about this giant mosquito sucking all of my blood, right? Of course, we're talking about vampires today. And, uh, and then I react again. I'm like in harmony, but I'm struggling. And then I go like this to my lower back and I try and kind of like push it away. And then there's no bug. There's no bug at all. It's these damn fairies that are tickling my back to once again test me again. Guess what? I failed. I failed the test for the second time. My eyes are open. I'm out of meditation. I'm kicking myself, saying, I'm not passing these damn tests. And I'm kicking myself also for saying, I'm not in harmony. I'm not in unity with nature. And that sucks. But also having compassion for myself and understanding I'm also coming from, Los Angeles, a big city, whatever. And so then it was so bizarre. Okay, this is so bizarre. I'm sitting there, my eyes are open. I'm kind of like on the verge of giving up, feeling quite ashamed that I failed their tests. And this little, like a baby mosquito comes along, right? He's like kind of putting along. And instantly I tune into this mosquito energy. And the mosquito, like to me, felt weak, felt young, felt like almost like a starving mosquito. Like this poor thing was just a straggler and very weak. And without even thinking about it, I put out my arm and I basically telepathically told the mosquito, hey, if you need to feed, once again, weird that we're talking about vampires, if you need some blood, like, here you go. Like, I felt compassion for this poor mosquito that was clearly struggling. And I basically offered it, some food. And in that moment, the mosquito left. And I heard from the fairies, you passed. And I'm like, oh my God, of course. That was another one of their tests. And obviously I kind of showed myself without even thinking that that was a test. So in that moment, I told the fairies, I said, look, I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you have discernment. I'm grateful that you're clearly intelligent. I'm grateful that, but I'm also sad that you've had such a poor time with humans on this property that you had to test me. And I said, right now, I don't know if the word is like worthy enough, but I don't feel in unity enough to actually have a discussion with you and feel into that. So I'm going to let you go for now. I'm just going to sit in meditation, ground myself, and I'm going to come back to talk to you at a later time. So I'm going to do that maybe sometime this week. But anyway, that was my experience yesterday with the fairies. So grateful for that. That was fantastic. I did a little journaling this morning about it too. So just wanted to relay that kind of story. Yeah. So I also want to mention two things before we get into the questions. One is next week, I think. What day is it? I don't know. Yeah. So it'll be Friday. This Friday, we have a Galactic Federation meeting in June. It's going to be really great. This one is all about change, I believe. It's all about shifting and change and kind of new beginnings. So we're going to talk about change at an individual level, at a collective level. What do we need to know in relation to change? I'm excited about that. Also on the 11th, we have the members only coaching call. So definitely, if you're a member, check that out. It's amazing. I love tuning into your energies. So I'm very, very excited about a coaching call. We are right now currently in the middle of developing a new membership platform. It's going to be really like next level, really amazing. And I'm also thinking about ways to honor the other members. Like, so for you guys who are members, there's quite a few of you who have been 12-month members now. And I want to actually kind of promote you to being some sort of teacher or master or Jedi or, something with this new membership platform. So just know that I'm also thinking about the members that have been very loyal and have been around for a while and how to honor you guys and kind of promote you in a sense. So yeah, so we're working on that. It's a huge, huge undertaking, but I'm very excited about that. Let's move right into the questions. All right. Okay, so first question here from Vanessa Lacey, PhD. You are also a 12-month member, so thank you, Vanessa, for being here. Okay, addiction and the interplay between free will and suffering? Such a good question, and I have so much to say. And thank you so much, guys, for the super chats as well. Really, really appreciated. Of course, if you enjoy this video, if you like it, you want to see more, make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. That just kind of helps analytics. And if you don't like this video, give it a thumbs down, because that helps analytics too. So very grateful that you're just here. Are there some tips or tools to use when having a craving for X? X could be drugs, smoking, sugar, gambling, video games, sex, etc. So that you feel satisfied and empowered. What is a good way to find balance during a craving so that we don't just use the excuse, I'm a sovereign being, I have free will, and in this moment I choose to do X? Or, on the flip side, I made a rule that I'm not allowed to do X, so now I will suffer and sit with the pain of not doing it. Can you tap into the energy of addiction and tell us how we can empower ourselves to use free will in a way that is healthy? Yes, amazing, Vanessa. Thank you for asking this question. We all have our vice. I don't know, Amazon shopping, food, sex, smoking, drugs, alcohol. We all have something, okay? And if you don't, maybe you're not very human, right? So, okay. So two main things that I want to mention about addiction and attachment. I don't really like the word addiction. I like the word attachment, okay? Because we could even have an addiction or an attachment to someone that we love or our children. And all that means is that that attachment is not allowing us to be free. That's all attachment is. If you're not attached to something, then you're fully free, you're standing in your power, and you don't have an attachment, therefore you don't have an addiction, therefore it's not a problem that you love that thing in the moment. There are things that we all have that are unhealthy for us to have. And the problem is, as you all know, that we want the thing, we hate ourselves for wanting the thing, we punish ourselves for wanting the thing, we don't want the thing. Because we don't want the thing, we want it more. So then we go into wanting the thing and having the thing, then we hate ourselves for having the thing, then we lower our vibration, and it's just a cycle that goes on and on and on. Self-sabotaging cycle. I've seen it in myself, I've seen it in others time and time again. I'm not an expert in this, but I really thought about this question this morning. Two things that I want to recommend to people who are struggling with wanting a thing, hating themselves for wanting the thing, then doing the thing, then hating themselves for doing the thing, and then wanting the thing again. Step number one is find an aspect of appreciation around the thing itself. Transmute the energy of it. So, I'm going to use alcohol as an example. Say, for example, your father, mother, whatever, right? Okay, family member, alcoholism runs in your family. That was a way, maybe in childhood, that your alcoholic uncle or blank was accepted by the family. So now all of a sudden you drink to feel accepted, and it feels good when you drink because you're finally being recognized, or there's attention there, or whatever that good thing is coming from that attachment or addiction. We want to take innately something that doesn't serve us and find some sort of strength in that, some sort of appreciation in that. I drink because it makes me feel good because I'm accepted when I drink, or I feel seen when I drink, or what have you. Okay? That right there is conditional love. It's conditional satisfaction. That's not real satisfaction or fulfillment. So what we need to do at a surface level is take the things that we have this disharmonic relationship with and find something that you can absolutely unconditionally love about it. So if we use the drinking example, it feels good at a surface level to drink because of X. Conditional love. True, authentic love is, I recognize the fact that I drink or overdrink because I have a trauma in childhood for not being seen and not being heard, and the only reason why I drink is to heal that broken part of me from childhood. Therefore, I can unconditionally accept and love the fact that I drink because it's bringing awareness to a trauma that I have that I need to heal. Do you see how that is an authentic, unconditional aspect of love and acceptance for the behavior that you're choosing? It is not about not choosing the behavior or choosing it and hating yourself around it. It's not about making the choice at all. The first step is to really, truly, authentically transmute the vibration of the choices that you're making and allowing your perception to be unconditional around it. The second that you bring unconditional love to behaviors that you fight yourself with, there's hair in my mouth, sorry, is the second that you're going to be able to get to a deeper level within it. I love myself, so I won't do it. I do it, so I hate myself. I hate myself, so I do it some more. I love myself, so I won't do it. I hate myself for doing it. Stop with the cycle. The second that you bring the resentment, the low vibrational frequency, into neutrality by authentically loving yourself for having that trait or characteristic or habit pattern, is the second that you neutralize it. The second that you neutralize it is the second that you're going to be able to go deeper. Why do I punish myself? Why do I have self-sabotaging mechanisms? Then you deal with the initial trauma. Every single pattern that we love and we love to hate, and we do it again and we love to hate it, is coming from an initial trauma. It has nothing to do with the drinking. It has nothing to do with the shopping. It has nothing to do with the sex. It has to do with the initial trauma, and you, in a defense mechanism way, saying, hey, look over here, this is a problem, you're a terrible person, you're a really terrible person, so I'm going to do this to you because you don't deserve true freedom. Okay? Neutralize the energy by bringing true, unconditional love to the situation and your perception around it. Don't stop fighting yourself on doing it or not doing it. And number 2, look deeper. Do the deeper healing. Do the shadow work. Confront the energies. Communicate the things that you are scared to communicate. And that is when the healing takes place. And this is such a good time to heal right now. This summer is a perfect time to really heal. Or winter, if you're Australian. All right? Great question, Vanessa. Thank you. I've been really focusing on this myself, so I hope that that gives you some answers or some perspective on that as a dilemma and situation. All right, Doodle Dan. Hi, EA. I was curious. Have you ever come across any beings from a plant-based evolution? There are so many animal and human-like beings out there in the universe. I can only assume that there are also intelligent beings that derive from plants. Let us know if you have any knowledge on these kinds of entities and what we can learn from them. So this is a great question, Dan. No one's ever asked me this question, actually. I've never even thought about this question. I took some time this morning to think about it. I was really going back all of my experiences with many different strange beings all throughout the universe, and the closest I could think of was insect-like beings. There are humanoid beings, there are animal beings, there are insectoid beings, there are even planetary beings and energies, there are etheric and elemental beings and energies. I would say that the elementals are probably the closest to plant-like beings. And so when I was tapping in and really thinking about it and really coming to the conclusion that no, I don't think I've ever experienced an interaction with a conscious plant-like species. Then I tune into it with the GFL, and instantly I get drawn to this room, a room that I've never been in before. It's pretty big, but it's very simple. There's only one thing in it, and it's this giant plant. I'm talking about I don't know, maybe 20 feet high, 20 feet wide, almost looking like not a fern, because it had bigger leaves, but it didn't even look like it had flowers to it. It was just this green plant. It was a giant green plant. And it exists on the Galactic Federation mothership, at least one of them. And I didn't get a name for it, but it was conscious, very, very intelligent, very tuned in, and extremely telepathic. It didn't have words, it was just telepathic. And yeah, and so apparently the Galactic Federation consults with this giant plant on this mothership, specifically related to nature and the balance and the flow of like nature in the universe versus, I don't know, like animal beings, like blood beings. I don't know what to call us. Um, but yeah, so that was really interesting. That was probably my first time experiencing that. So yeah, absolutely, these plant-like beings exist, and I'm sure more like human. I'm like imagining kind of like a green human, like two arms, two legs with like a flower for a face. Like I'm imagining that, but I've never met one of those. I'm just imagining that they've got to exist out there. I just don't know necessarily, where. I've never interacted. But great question, Dan. Yeah. So I'm happy to tap into that this morning and get that experience. All right. Kaylee McKenzie, another 12-month member, same with Dan. So thank you guys for being here for the whole year and some. Hi, EA. I'm so curious about thunder and lightning. I used to be scared of it, and then recently I was guided to meditate on it, and it came to me that lightning strikes are entities opening portals. Can you tap in and see if this is actually the case? So I did. I've actually been very curious about thunder and lightning and rain and all of that as well. What I've channeled from the past is spaceships. Okay, UFOs love thunder and lightning storms because some of them, maybe not all of them, they are able to charge their ships from the electrical magnetic energy that is created. Now, if you think about, wind, water, air, fire, wind and air, okay, and ground and earth, all being kind of the elements, you would think that lightning has its own consciousness, and it does. And it does make sense that that jolt of electrical magnetic energy, which also spikes the Schumann resonance, has a consciousness to it. But not only that, is strong enough to open portals. So I do want to just validate you, Kaylee, and say, absolutely, I think you channeled the right thing there, which is it does have the capacity to open portals, and how can we utilize that? And I remember years and years ago, I would rent out yoga studios, and I would have like gatherings of full moon gatherings, and I would teach people telepathy and manifestation and all of that. And the one time we were doing a cosmic, like almost like kind of like my first ever Galactic Federation connection meeting. And we were at the top of my condo building at the time. It was a yoga studio, all glass, floor to ceiling glass. It was in the corner, and all you could see, it was like on floor, like, I don't know what it was, like 40 or something. All you could see was these dark clouds, and it felt like we were floating in the air during this crazy lightning and thunderstorm. And I tuned into it, and I'm like, oh my God, they're here. And we were surrounded by ships. And this was in like, I think that was in Burlington, Ontario. It's just so wild. Actually, Nat came out to the patio last night. She couldn't get to sleep. The energy is pretty intense here. And she looked into the sky. She's like, the stars were incredible. And she was visited by 3 orbs, and they were dancing around. They were coming together. They were splitting apart. They were twirling, and then they just dissipated. So I don't know. It's just funny for me to think about so much activity happening in the middle of nowhere, Ontario. It's really cool to know that, I mean, aliens are everywhere. The ETs are everywhere, all across this planet, which is really cool. So yeah, so hopefully that answered that question. Okay, so Bernadette. I listened to a transcript of a future life regression, and he spoke about Earth only having a year to shift, that when the solar flare comes, some will have to leave on a ship to survive, then eventually return when it's safe. Can you tap into what the year holds for this summer to next to see if there's a solar flare by next summer? If so, how do we best prepare? Great question. Okay, So back in 2018, the Galactic Federation came to me. I didn't even seek this out. They came to me. They showed me an image of literally a solar flare hitting the planet. They told me that this was going to happen in 2021. They said it was 60% likely to happen back then. We need to realize that there is an infinite number of timelines coexisting all the time, okay? So even when I tapped into this question this morning, the response that I got was that the Galactic Federation is not going to share the timelines around that. Now, this is actually a good thing, and the reason why is because if it was really likely to happen, then they would say it's happening in August and you should prepare. And they don't usually tell us things when it's not most likely to happen, because then we go ahead and we create it with their conscious awareness, and it can be detrimental. So we're kind of in this weird period. You know, and I said to them, you better freaking give me a warning, give me a sign, like let me know so I can let everyone else know if and when this is going to happen. So they haven't really told me yes or no since 2018 about this solar flare. I've tuned into it a couple of times and they still are kind of 50-50 right now. I think partly because it will be just as detrimental as it will be expanding, and it might not be the shock wave that we need. Like, it might be more detrimental than it is beneficial. That's kind of where I'm feeling the GFL is at, and that's why they're not being very clear about what that looks like. So I don't want any one of you to lock in the understanding of it's going to happen, be in fear about it, and project and manifest it, okay? Worst case scenario. That being said, though, I'm glad that you brought this up, Bernadette, because I do believe, and I have been saying for a very, very long time, we all need to get prepared for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is this is going to happen. This is going to take place. All right. And really what a solar flare means is it hits the grid, the electrical grid of the planet, and a big enough solar flare can wipe out as a giant EMF our technology, our electrical, or whatever. So wherever you are, have enough food and water for 3 months for your entire household, which actually means a lot of food and a lot of water, okay? Those are the two biggest main things. I'm not really into weapons. I'm not a gun toter. I'm not nothing like that. I don't really have that kind of fear, but I do recommend the supplies. Maybe you want a solar power charger. Maybe you want, you know, a first aid kit. Maybe you want a kit for your car. Maybe you want extra gas to be stored. Okay, I'm coming from 800 square feet in Los Angeles, where it's pretty much packed with prepper gear, to a 10-acre property that's kind of already 80% off the grid. I actually just bought like a $1,200 generator too as a backup. Hopefully I never have to use it, but if I do, I have it here. Okay, so I'm a prepper. I've been a prepper basically since 2012, since the Galactic Federation told me the type of shifts that are going to take place on this planet. I have always had a box of food in my closet, all right? So that's what I'm saying. There's no fear. We should never hold fear about this, but the easiest way not to hold fear is to be prepared. That's it. If you never have to use your backup food and water, amazing. This is great. It's an easy transition into a new vibration. If you have to use it, you have it, all right? So I don't care where you're living in the world. I don't care if you're in one bedroom. Store food under your bed. Find a place to have non-perishables, all right? Do a little bit of YouTube research on how to start a fire, on, you know, how to store food. Even in Los Angeles, I left most of my prepper stuff there. I had little propane canisters, and I had a little propane one-burner stovetop. So if I needed to boil water, if I needed to cook rice, if I needed to cook beans, I had that there available. All right, so as much as you can, make sure that you don't have to rely on the grid system, just in case. All right, I also have silver. I don't really believe in gold too much because the prices are way inflated, but I do have silver. And it was all kind of waiting for me here in Canada. I didn't take it with me to Los Angeles. So that's it. That's it. No fear, but get prepared, all right? And for your family's sake and for your own sake, we need you. Is it possible that something happens and we go up on a ship and we're kind of saved for a little bit? Absolutely, that is possible too, and that is one of the timelines that has been presented to me. It's not as likely though. Best case scenario is we have a bit of an easier transition into a higher vibration. Right now, we're seeing corruption being released. We're seeing, Fauci emails being released. We're seeing the truth being disclosed. We're seeing cosmic disclosure. We're seeing things shift at a systemic level, which is what we need to see in order for real change to happen. So, yeah, so I'm holding the highest vibration for the easiest transition, but we also have a whole population who really needs to wake up as well. So, good question. All right, moving forward. Lambert family. Hi, Elizabeth. I've heard of multiverses, but what is all that about? Did Source create them all, or do they each have their own source? Also, in chapter 18 of your book, you mentioned that when we are done learning from our incarnations, we can A, choose to return to source, this source, or B, go off and create our own universe. I had never heard of creating our own universe before. How does that work? Oh, and also congrats on your new home. Thank you. Yeah, so one time, like years ago, I wanted to see the multiverse. I wanted to see all of the universes. Now, it's funny because I was taught actually by, I think it was by a psychic that I met. I don't remember being taught this by an ET, that if you go too far in this universe, so if you astral travel or remote view too far, you stretch your grounding cord that connects you to your body, which connects you to the planet, and you could potentially break the grounding cord, or you could have an entity snip your grounding cord so that you can't find your way back to your body. I do believe that is possible, and I do believe that some people who go through psychosis or schizophrenia or have like huge wake-ups and they kind of lose track of their body, I do believe that sometimes they go a little bit too far into that realm and they're unable to come back. But also people who maybe take too much acid or whatever might have that experience as well. So years ago, I was always afraid of going too far, right? To go to the outer stretches of this universe for fear of that. However, years ago, I asked to see the multiverses. I wanted to see what that looked like. Luckily, I was able to get that projected to me rather than have to go there, because my first question was, am I really seeing all of the universes? Like, am I really outside of my own universe? And the answer was no, it was a holograph projector. So it was pretty cool. So here's what I saw. It was the trippiest thing ever. I should have drawn it for you. But I want you all to imagine a donut, okay? Imagine darkness, just black space. Then imagine a donut, but this donut is actually transparent, and all you can see is the white for the outer rim of the donut. And the donut isn't two-dimensional, it's four-dimensional. It can move and turn and shift. And that's what the multiverses look like. So in this kind of donut, kind of toroidal field, like this was before I even knew what a torus was, it was a 3D, 4D, 5D, fifth dimensional torus toroidal field that I was seeing. And inside this toroidal field were all these little, kind of look like stars, all these little dots, all like spinning and moving, but at a slow pace. None of the dots were touching, but they were all moving. And it was explained to me that every one of these dots was its own universe. So I was taking a look at the multiverse. I don't know how else to say that. It was also explained to me that within every one of these universes, which is just wild to even comprehend, there are different laws of physics, and there's a different source that kind of rules over, but not really, is in unity with its creation, which is that universe. So I channeled this from the Galactic Federation. They showed me all of that. This was years ago, long before I ever got online. And then they also told me, they explained that after we go through all of our lessons, once again, we can either A, go back to source as a whole, oneness, unity individual, sharing our knowledge with source, or we create our own universe. I want to create my own universe. I don't know about you guys, but that's only after you learn everything that there is to learn from this universe. So imagine all of these other universes, all learning from other universes, and therefore creating their own universe, and how intelligent and advanced it becomes. Kind of like an AI program learning from another AI program, getting even smarter than that AI program, and creating its own AI program, right? I mean, hey, it feels like a program, right? So that's just some seeds to plant, but really interesting stuff. Also, bit of an update, my migraine is completely gone. Once again, it's because I'm shifting back into 5D frequency. I guarantee you that if I were to sit down in another business meeting in half an hour from now, my head is going to start becoming disharmonic, and I'm going to be battling between vibrations. So it's just really interesting how extreme it is when you go into nature. Feels like nothing else in the world should matter. No emails, no collaborations, no marketing, none of that shit matters. It's all an illusion, but we still have to pay the bills. We still have to live our life, and it is about ultimate harmony. You know what? After these questions, I'm going to just tune into the group, and I'm going to ask, what can we do? Please, universe, spirit guides, higher self, Galactic Federation, what can we do to better harmonize between 5D and 3D so that we're not always exhausted, so that we're not always, nauseous and full of headaches? Well, we'll end today with that. I'm like sweating also because it's like 30 degrees here, which is kind of like 81 degrees if you're American. So, but it's beautiful. I love it. Okay, good question here. We've just got a couple more from Rat. Oh yeah, such a good question. Were mosquitoes developed by self-serving ETs to keep humans from bonding with nature? Most repellents are also harmful to humans, and they may adversely affect the third eye. Can you ask the Earth for her perspective? I have the answer to mosquitoes. Especially if you guys do live in nature or you get out in nature, you're going to deal with this all over the world. So, I have a friend who's a channeler, and she's at my level. Like, I don't want to say my level, but she's like next level. Her name is Ariane. She's also indigenous. I think she's a part of the Métis tribe. She's one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met, and she's here in Canada. Anyway, so she told me, so she always goes out into nature, she takes her drum, she drums with the tribes, like it's just beautiful, like her energy is so good. And she told me probably 4 summers ago, we were in the middle of the woods, we were drumming, chanting, tuning in, and she told me that the vibration of a tick, okay, you know ticks? The vibration of a tick is a fear-based vibration. So anyone who gets bit by ticks have some sort of fear-based vibration within them. She told me that mosquitoes are blessings. And I said, oh, really? Tell me all about it. And what she said to me really resonates with me. I confirmed it with my own sources and vibration. So it may or may not resonate with you. This is what she said. She said, mosquitoes carry the DNA and the vibration of the land that they are within, that they are existing within. When a mosquito bites you, it is helping you acclimate your DNA and your vibration to the vibration of the land. Ever since she told me that, I love mosquitoes. And I said this in a video yesterday that I did on Instagram, and one of the first lessons that I learned, a couple days ago on this property was I got a mosquito bite on my leg, that night I was obviously just kind of sleeping, unconsciously aware, but I was scratching the mosquito bite on my leg all night. When I woke up the next morning, the mosquito bite was gone, but what remained was my scratches. So I saw all these scratches on my leg, thinking, where's the mosquito bite? The reaction to the cause was greater than the cause itself. Hey! Anyway, so hopefully that aligns with you. We do have like natural mosquito repellent here, but I mean, as far as the off or the DEET or the deep woods or whatever, all of that stuff is terrible. You know, even like just chemical, like cleaning chemicals, Febreze, it's literally, it's chemicals in your body. So please, if you're not already like all natural with your cleaning supplies, and God forbid, hopefully you're not using Febreze and other like scents, especially for your bed, mix some essential oil with water. All my essential oils are in our U-Haul box, which is going to be another month before it gets here. But I even have like something called Terra Shield, which is from I think doTERRA, and you mix that with water, and it's a natural bug repellent. So there are solutions there as well, and I still definitely struggle with my human reaction and bugs, and then my understanding of harmony and my gratitude for the soul that's there, especially with wasps, which are around for sure. So yeah, so hopefully that gives you a new perspective about mosquitoes. All right, let's move on to vampires. Zen what's up with vampires? Are they truly fictional characters, or do they exist in another dimension? Did they exist throughout history in folklore and art because they are actually reptilians doing blood rituals? I must know the truth. Fantastic. I tuned in, I was pretty much like, when I started channeling, I was pretty obsessed with understanding, here's a little friend, understanding, mermaids, gnomes, elves, vampires, ghosts, spirits, you name it. I was just obsessed with understanding the truth behind all of that. Jesus, you know, ancient Greece, like Anunnaki, like all of those questions I went into. So, as far as vampires, from what I've channeled, they are their own species and they exist beyond, above and beyond reptilians, okay? Reptilians exist and vampires exist. I know a lot of you in the comments were talking about, like, oh, it's such a beautiful butterfly. Hi. I don't know if you can see it. It's so cute. So a lot of you in the comments were talking about like energy vampires and how addiction can be like to turn you into a vampire, but that's all very different. I'm literally talking about the fangs, the white skin, the super speed. Those vampires do exist. Werewolves exist. Mermaids exist. I mean, literally everything and more that you've ever heard about in folklore, the giants, they all exist. They have all existed before on this planet, and we need to realize that this planet is way, way, way older with intelligent life than we have ever, we can even conceive, really. There's been like, I don't know, like 5 or 6, but maybe like 3 or 4 different entire cycles of this planet and different beings that have existed within those cycles. So I don't really have much else to say about vampires. I really haven't ever had an experience with a vampire, but I know for a fact that they exist. They still exist in much smaller numbers than they ever have before, but I can verify that they are not reptilians. They are their own species, and so are merpeople, and so are many other things that we've never heard in folklore that also exist as well. So good question, Zen. All right, Christina, brand new member, so welcome Christina and all the new members as well. Okay, I'm thinking about taking my 401k out and putting it to use now. What's the point in keeping it in when the world is changing? I want to live life to the fullest. I just don't see a reason to keep money tied up. What are your thoughts on the matter? Ultimately, it's completely up to you. I did want to actually bring in this question, mostly because my wife, Nat, before we even met, she took out her 401k and she put it into something called a gold IRA. I want you all to look this up, especially in America. I don't know if they have this in other places of the world, but you can literally transfer your 401k into a gold IRA. Now, what that means is, I don't know how much, someone would have in a 401k. You have, say, $10,000. You can essentially take that $10,000, get it transferred into gold. It's not just a piece of paper that says you have gold or a box somewhere that says you have gold. You actually get the gold, and it is documented as kind of its own bank account. So this gold IRA means that you have the gold in your hand, and you can actually, I don't know if it's like called like taking loans out on the gold to say, I have, $26,000 worth of gold that's in our house, and because I have that as a recognized asset, I can then buy a boat with it, or put a down payment on a house with it, or what have you. My wife did that. She's a little hacker, even before we met, so it's just so beautiful how we align in that way. Yeah, it's not up to me to say what to do with your money, but I do recommend that, having precious metal, having survival equipment, having some in the bank, and and having some in cash as well is just a great way to diversify your portfolio. I also want to mention too that Nat recently got into stocks and trading, which is amazing, I think, because her mind works that way. She's just such a savant when it comes down to understanding those kind of things. So it's good for her. But I told her, I said, look, the stock market could crash tomorrow and you could lose everything. And she says, I know that. And that's why I always keep cash in the back. I don't know stocks, okay? But she basically says that she cashes out every week. So she always has kind of liquid available, and she never goes all in, if that makes sense. I don't really know the stock world, but there's certain ways to play the game in a responsible manner. I don't really understand having a bunch of money in a bank account. That's why I'm like, let's put it into real estate, because that's something that we can own. It's something that's ours. And obviously I've never had my own property before. I mean, I'm 28, so I'm very grateful to be the age that I am, having, been able to put this money into this place. So yeah, so I really recommend do something with your money. Don't just sit on it, but also be aware of having a balance in life. Don't just spend it all either. And I always say, as many eggs in as many baskets is the best way to go in general, because you just never know. Okay, good question. All right, last question here. And then I'm going to tap into harmonize. How can we just, boom, take the two different aspects of ourselves, bring them together? It's a big poking wasp. It's like this big. Okay. Like fear. Okay. Last question here from Helen. First, congratulations on your new home. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Helen. Question. There are days where I feel very disconnected and I feel a strong urge to meditate because I feel like some sort of message from my guides. But when I tune in, I don't actually hear anything, but I feel aligned again. So my question is, 1, are we getting messages even when we cannot hear or see? And 2, how do I know I'm actually receiving a message? That is, how would the message show up? Great question, Helen. I think this is very applicable to everyone right now at this time. When we are feeling ungrounded, when we're feeling lost, when we're feeling lonely, desperate, unsettled, fear-based, reactionary, triggered, whatever, it's a great time to sit with the energy or transmute it into a higher frequency. You can do this through meditating. You can do this through eating food. You can do this through taking a walk. You can do this through taking a bath. I mean, journaling, you name it. There's so many ways to transmute. So I just want to relay that to you guys. When you sit down and you do whatever it is that you're going to do to transmute it, and you feel better, but you don't know if you actually received something, every body, okay, creates a different sensation surrounding the messages that they're receiving. So sometimes if you sit down and you know that you received something, but you can't see it or feel it right away, be extra aware of your interactions in your environment. Be extra aware of the bugs that come around. Be extra aware of stubbing your toe. Be extra aware of the conversations that you have or that you overhear after a moment of sitting in silence, okay, or transmuting that frequency. So that awareness is really going to be key. And I want to say that the majority of the time, just as it is, you're going to be receiving something. It could be just a subtle vibration, could be a full-on conversation, could be a healing, could be an activation, could be a release, a clearing. It could be anything, all right? So a lot of the time when we're not listening, which is a big part of my book as well, and all of the ways and all of the reasons why we're receiving messages, but we're not fully clear and aware of receiving the messages. You're not listening because of this, or you're too distracted, or you're not asking the right things, or you're not just sitting long enough, right? So that's a huge part of my book as well, is just, I think actually the chapter is chapter 13, 1111, the signs are everywhere. If you have the book and you're struggling with the signs, please go back to that chapter and reread it, okay? It's going to really kind of center you in. But I just want to validate to say, you are receiving stuff all the time, and don't ever feel bad or guilty for not knowing what you're receiving. Just be grateful that you're able to receive it. Because the second you're sitting, you're receiving, and then you're kicking yourself for not being able to be fully aware or attuned to know what you're receiving, is the second that you bring yourself back into a lower vibration. So even if you were able to receive it, you wouldn't, because you're reacting to not receiving it. You see what I mean? When you're sitting there, even when you don't know what the fuck is going on, sit long enough and just appreciate the fact that you are there sitting in that space and that energy. All right? And the more you do that, and you just sit and you're patient and you wait, the more those messages become clearer and clearer. I want to mention too, one more thing before we tap into the harmony. When I had my fairy experience yesterday, it reminded me so much of when I first started tapping into extraterrestrial energy. Now, I want to mention that I realized this was back in, I guess, 2011 when I had my Vipassana experience and my first conscious abduction. I realized back then when I understood, oh my God, aliens are real, they're here, what the hell is going on? I realized that I was getting contacted by extraterrestrials my entire life, but I wasn't aware of their presence. I wasn't listening in the right ways. I wasn't paying attention to the sensations. So when I first started saying, all right, universe, all right, spirit guides, all right, ET friends and family, I'm ready to commune with you. I'm ready to open up to you. I would get messages from them. I would get telepathic images from them without seeing them, because my human was not ready to see what they looked like yet. So yesterday, when I was sitting with the fairies and I was hearing their conversation and I was picking up on what they were saying and how they were testing me, I was clairsentient. I was tapping into their frequency without seeing them. They didn't want me to see them, so I couldn't see them because they exist in the fourth dimension frequency. So it reminded me of all of the times in my life, in this lifetime, where I was feeling, vibrating, connecting with ETs, and I just wasn't able to see them. So that was just really interesting. So just know that you're probably talking with ETs. You're probably connecting with your spirit guides. You're probably, communing with the fairies all the time, and you're just not fully aware of it. When you set the intention and you say, I am ready to receive information, I am ready to heal myself, I am ready to see my spirit guides, it will happen, but we have to ask for it because of that pesky law and that beautiful law of non-intervention and free will. All right? Let's tap in for the freaking glory of all of us to just let go of the exhaustion, to stop the anxiety, to decrease the migraines. Let's just ask, how can we better balance our frequencies from 5D into 3D and not have such a freaking quantum leap so that we're exhausted all the time? Because that's pretty much the only reason why you're going to be exhausted, all right? And anxious and hungry and nauseous and headachy all the time. One last thing before I tap in. Galactic Federation, we still have tickets available for that. That's happening on Friday, this Friday. I am so excited to tap into the GFL while I'm on the land. Like, I'm so, so, so excited for that. It's going to be all about change. How do we change individually, together, collectively? What does that change look like? What's going on with the reptilian rebel movement? I mean, I kind of want to tap into inner earth as well. So we'll see. I'm very, very excited for that. That's this Friday. And then also this Friday, the free membership coaching call. I'm also so excited to channel. I'm so excited. I've had a couple of very special readings, and then I've got a bunch of readings with the people who won some of the draws as well for the reviews. And I don't know, they were just amazing. I really miss my clients and miss reading for people, but I also love my freedom. So yeah, okay. All right, I'm so excited. All right, 1 second. Okay. 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 Okay, this makes sense. All right. Here's some homework for you guys. I'm going to do this to myself because I've been really, really struggling with being on this gorgeous property and then having to do 3D shit. It's been killing me. It's been very, very exhausting. So, here's the information. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, please, please, please write this down. Do this homework on your own free time. Today's a great day to do it. It's Sunday. Okay, T-chart. Gotta love my T-charts. Okay, T-chart. One half of the chart is 3D. The other half of the chart is 5D. All right? Write down, and you can always add to the list, but write down all of the aspects of your life that are third dimensional. I'll give you a couple of examples. Pains in your body. Say, for example, like right now, I'm like sweating buckets, like reacting to heat, right, in a negative way. Maybe just dealing with like family drama. Maybe paying your bills. Maybe your job, okay? Just a reminder, third dimension does not mean negative, does not mean bad, does not mean dark, okay? 3D just means dense. It's just dense. There's a lot of time and effort and energy and space involved in the 3D, okay? Doesn't mean bad, just means dense. 5D. What is 5D to you? What does 5D look like to you? To me, it's being on the land. It's working on my archery skills. It's putzing around in the garden. It's saying hello to the birds. It's sitting in nature, right? Like that's all 5D for me. It's having great conversations with my wife. All 5D right now is you are in 5D and when you are in 3D. End of the day for you and you're looking around and you're saying, oh geez, I'm really, really tired. Ask yourself how you have been flipping back and forth between 3D and 5D. You are tired because of what? Why are you tired? What has been the flip for you? I've been doing half 3D shit. I've been doing half 5D shit. I've been bouncing back and forth. Therefore, I am tired. Therefore, I have a headache. Therefore, I feel anxious in this moment. So there are two main things. After you recognize I went from 5D to 3D, that's why I feel anxious. I went from 3D to 5D, that's why I feel nauseous. I went from, 3D to 5D, 5D to 3D in an hour, that's why I feel exhausted, okay? Once after you recognize there's two different things that you can do, work with your intuition on this. One is to rebalance yourself. So, for example, this morning I woke up, I was in nature, I was like, journaling. I was so in my bliss. I was so 5D. And then my wife is like, let's have a business meeting on the membership program. And I'm so excited about the new membership program. I feel really good about that. But it was just so dense. It was so, this has to happen at this time, and we have to gather this amount of information. We have to figure out this and this and this. It was so dense. The whole time I was jittery. The whole time I was anxious. The whole time I felt nauseous, like I was going to throw up. And I'm like asking myself, and then I got this splitting headache, like the worst freaking migraine ever during this meeting. I'm like, why is this happening? My whole morning was 5D. Then I instantly hop into 3D. So the first thing you can do is neutralize the quantum leap by adding a little bit of the energy that you just came from. So guess what happened? I went from 5D this morning to 3D, membership meeting, to 5D again by hopping on a video with all of you speaking truth and like really just being in the element. The second, like I'm telling you this, I was trying to do like quantum uploading. I was trying to do all these things, healing, white light, whatever for the headache. The second I hopped on this video, it dissipated. Right now, 0 headache. I'm so grateful. Because I neutralized the frequency and I got back into that frequency. Sometimes we do not have the pleasure, the luxury of hopping back into the frequency. So, the best thing that you can do if you don't have the luxury of hopping back into slightly 3D or hopping back into slightly 5D is finding the neutrality, is finding the 0 point, is actually staying out of all of 3D or all of 5D completely and just being in surrender in that moment. So if you can't neutralize the quantum leaping, the polarity, by bringing a little bit of this and a little bit of that into it, step away from both sides of polarity, step away from all 5D, all 3D, and do something that brings you back into neutrality. Could be taking a walk, could be meditating, could be journaling, could be just sitting. Could be just literally just vibrationally stepping back, okay? So that's what I would recommend. That's the information that came through. And other than that, have a great week. This week is truly all about balancing. I'm excited to help you all with the balance, with the coaching call, and with the GFL video that's happening this week. So hopefully I will see all of you on Friday. If not, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video on your social media network so that people know that the truth is out there. This information is accessible. You're not alone. You're not dying. You're just waking up, my friends. Keep up the good work. I am sending you all so much love. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member. And I'll see you next week. And I think I have maybe one more video premiering this week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You won't get notifications for the premiering videos, just because they were all already uploaded before. So just keep your eye on my YouTube channel for any new videos, and check out my Instagram for any videos on the land and the property and our new kind of rancher life. Bye for now, everyone.